Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 1. It's a longish scene, and that's what we are going to study line by line, word by word explanation, as always, here on Study with Sudhir. Now, what really happens in Act 4 follows the rather tumultuous incidents which took place in Act 2 and Act 3. We have seen the murder, the consequences of the murder, and the fact that Macbeth is beginning to feel the effect of the kind of evil deeds that he has committed. So in this particular scene, he goes back to where it all began, which means he goes back to meet the three witches to know what exactly is in store for him. That's what happens in this particular scene, which makes the scene extremely significant, just like the scene where he first time meets the witches in Banquo's company. But this time, there is no Banquo. But Banquo does make a very eerie kind of an appearance towards the end of the scene, which I will talk about. Now, let's get into the scene. Okay. So you can see Act 4, Scene 1. Now this takes place in a cavern, and in the middle there is something like a boiling cauldron. Now boiling cauldron is a large vessel. This is a large vessel that is used for, you could say, boiling things or for cooking and performing a spell. So this is not something the way, we could have used the word vessel, but vessel is not a negative word, but this is something which is associated with the witches and witchcraft. So at that point in time, the three witches enter. The first witch says, "Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed." So brinded means striped. Please keep noting down these word meanings. Striped. It has mewed. It has created that sound 3 times. The second witch says, "Thrice, and once the hedge pig whined." Whined is the crying of wolves and dogs, which is not considered very auspicious. So the hedgehog has whined, has created that sound once. Harpier cries, "It is time, it is time." And my familiar spirit. See, we saw the reference to the spirits made by the witches in Act 1, Scene 1, if you would recall, which you studied in class 11. So once again, the reference to those spirits, the animal spirits of the three witches. So she's referring to Harpier, who is crying that it is time, it is time. So basically talking about that something significant is about to happen pretty soon. The first witch says, "Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw." So the first witch says that dance around. Roundabout is a reference to dancing around the cauldron, that around that round vessel, that all the three of them will dance. Okay, the dance and throw, and into the boiling, whatever the stuff is inside the vessel, that throw in the poisoned entrails. The poisoned entrails is what? It is the internal organs of either a human or an animal. Okay. And then she holds up a toad. Toad is like a frog of the same family. Toad, that under cold stone days and nights has 31 sweltered venom. Sleeping god, boil thou first in the charmed pot. So she says that she's holding up the toad and she's speaking to the toad, saying that you will be the first to go in. You will, that under cold stone, you will be the first one to go in. That the toad is the one which slept under the cold stone. It slept under a cold rock for 31 days and nights. For 31 days and nights, it slept there under a cold rock, and it oozed. It kind of released poison. It released poison, sweltered venom. Venom means poison. It released poison from its pores, the pores of the skin, like sweat. Sweltered is refer to the act of the sweat coming out, jo pasina bahar aata hai. So that is what is referring to, that like the sweat that comes out, it released poison. Okay, sweltered. And then it says that all of you, first you will be going into the charmed pot. What I said, that you will be the first one to go into the cauldron. So all of them says double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. So double, I mean, this is just a chant which they are doing, fire burn and the cauldron bubble. The second which says fillet of a fenny snake. So you see all reptile and animal imagery being used to create the sense of something very dark, black and evil that is going to happen. Fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron boil and bake. Again, the second witch holds up something which looks like a swamp snake, a water snake. Okay, she says to the snake that fillet of a fenny snake, that is, we will boil you in the cauldron next. You will be the next one after the toad to go into the cauldron, right? And a slice of a fillet snake. So fillet means slice. Slice of a fenny snake and a newt's eye. Newt's eye, and then, I mean, these are all some kind of weird animals. The toe of a frog, the fur of a bat. Wool means fur of a bat, and the tongue of a dog. So they have cut out all these kind of organs from different animals and reptiles, and they are throwing it all into that vessel. Sounds very, very yuck and eerie. Okay. Adder's fork. Adder's fork means adder is some kind, again, from the snake family. The forked tongue of the adder, and the blind worm sting, which means the stinger of a burrowing worm, which is like a snake-like lizard. Blind worm is a lizard which is in the form of a snake, okay, in terms of the shape of its body. Then a lizard's leg and the wing of an owl. Okay, so you see all the ingredients are nothing which would any decent person would actually use. And then the second witch speaks to those ingredients, because they have cut out all these things from the, I mean, they are parts of a body of different animals. And it says, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble. So it speaks to the ingredients and says, make a charm to cause powerful trouble, that, you know, all you should kind of come together in order to create powerful trouble and boil and bubble like a broth of hell. Like you should boil and bubble like a broth of hell. You know, so the whole idea is to create a hell-like atmosphere. All of them, again, they do the chant. This is the chanting that they indulge in. The third which says, scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, which is mummy, mow and gulf. So the third which says, here are some more ingredients, you know, some more ingredients which include a wolf's tooth, okay, then a mummified witch, okay, mow and gulf, that is a shark's, I mean, see, highly unlikely that any of these things will come as, you know, a question, but since it is there in your text, one has to go through what it means. So, I mean, it is not, I wouldn't say, you could get a question about the kind of evil that the witches indulge in which case you need to quote from this text and what exactly is the significance, which I just now explained about what it is. So it says that a ravenous shark, ravenous means something again very evil, and raven is also associated with the crow family. A ravenous shark's gullet and stomach. Okay, then the root of a hemlock dug up in the dark, the liver of a blaspheming against someone who doesn't follow the religious practices, Jew, a goat's gallbladder, and the twigs of yew taken during a lunar eclipse. Okay, a Turk's nose and the Tatar's lips. These are something which you would have read in MOV. Remember, Act 4, Scene 1, the trial scene. At the beginning, there is a mention of Turks and Tatars. You would recall. And the finger of a baby strangled just after a drab. Drab means a prostitute. So when a prostitute delivers a child, the finger of the newborn baby has been delivered, and the baby has been dumped into a ditch, delivered into a ditch. Make the gruel thick and slab, add thereto a tiger's children for the ingredients of our cauldron. So, you know, this is almost like rhyming. Children, cauldron. So let's also add a tiger's entrails in order to make the gruel, jo ban raha hai, the portion, very thick and slimy. And let's add the internal organs of a tiger also to the mix. Again, they do the same chanting after that. The second which says, cool it with a baboon's blood. Baboon is a kind from the primates family, from the monkeys family, that, let's mix the blood of a baboon also. Then the charm, then it will ensure that the charm which it will kind of create will be very well done. And that's the time when Hecate enters in the particular scene. She says, oh, well done. I commend your pains, and everyone shall share in the gains. And now about the cauldron sing, live elves and fairies in a ring, enchanting all that you put in. So she says that, well done. I praise your efforts, that, whatever you have done, pains, I commend, means I praise. जो तुमने किया, मैं उसकी तारीफ करती हूँ. Whatever your efforts that you have taken. And everyone shall share in the gains, that each one of you will get a share of the rewards that will follow. Share in the gains means that the rewards that will follow, you will also get a part of that reward. Now come sing along around the cauldron in a ring, like the elves and fairies, okay, the different kind of animal spirits, enchanting all that you put in, okay, that you put in. Though fairies are associated generally with more positive things, but Hecate kind of invokes them. And then there is a song, and she retires from this particular scene. The second, which this is a song called the Black Spirits. The second, which says, by the tingling sensation of my thumbs. Pricking means there is some kind of a sensation in my thumb, in my angota. Something wicked this way comes, open locks, whoever knocks. Now, very significant that she refers to the person who is coming as wicked, which is Macbeth. So for the witches to call Macbeth as wicked is rather ironic. Okay, so she says that open the doors for whoever is knocking, which is Macbeth. So the witches are, please note this down, are the personification of evil, right? We know that, right? They represent evil in this particular play. For them to call Macbeth as evil is deeply ironic itself, and it kind of wonders, that the whole thing is, they seem to have had an impact on him and made him wicked and evil, and it's very ironic that they are calling Macbeth as evil, as wicked. Macbeth enters the scene. Macbeth says, how now, you secret black and midnight hag. So look at the way he is referring to them. Let me just increase the size a bit. So look at the way he's referring to them as midnight hags. And what is going on there here? You secret black and midnight hags. What is it that you are doing here? All of them say a deed without a name. Now, this is an extremely interesting and important key phrase, key line that they say, that something that does not have a name. We are doing some work that does not have a name. So evil in that sense personified as someone which does not have a name. It's not something we generally say, no, oh, we are doing a good deed, right? But here it is something which does not, is so evil that it does not, it's difficult to even put a name to it. Macbeth says, I conjure you by that which you profess, however you come to know of it, answer me. He says, I call upon you. Conjure means I call upon you by the dark powers that you serve, that you do serve some higher dark powers. So I call upon you to take oath on the dark powers that you serve to answer me, that you need to answer me. I do not care how you got this knowledge, though you untie the winds and however you come to know, answer me. That I don't care how you got this knowledge, but I want the answers to the questions that I'm going to ask. Though you untie the winds and let them fight against the churches, that I do not care if you unleash violent winds, untie the winds and let them fight against the churches. So I don't care if you unleash violent form of winds against the churches, to tear down the churches, to demolish and destroy and damage the churches. And then Yesti means foamy waves, the waves of the ocean when they rise, it's almost like foam, like as if soap powder has been mixed in them, right? So you could make the ST waves, that is the foamy waves, to rise up and confound. Confound here means to destroy, and swallow navigation up. Navigation is a reference to the ships, that you could be in a position where you could be destroying all the ships and the sailors. Navigation refers to the ships and the sailors. Then though bladed corn be lodged and trees blown down, that you could lodged means to flatten, that you could be completely flattening the fields as a result of whatever havoc that you unleash, and trees with storms, the wind speed that could completely flatten the entire corn crop, and the trees could be completely uprooted, though castles topple on their warders' heads. So he's also, you see, the point that I'm trying to make is that just like the witches before Macbeth entered, they were kind of invoking all the dark spirits by putting all the remains in the insides of the animals, the entrails of the animals inside the cauldron. Even he's kind of invoking the extreme form of natural violence that could happen in the ocean or in land, right? So he says you could make the castles topple, fall down on the heads of the warders, the inhabitants. The warders is a reference to the inhabitants, the residents. That the castles could completely crumble and fall on the people who are residing inside those castles. You could cause the palaces and the pyramids also to topple. Okay, slope means to topple, to fall down. Their heads to their foundation, that is, the heads of the palaces and the pyramids could be completely inverted, and to create huge chaos in nature. Okay, though the treasure of nature's Germans stumble altogether, even till destruction sicken, answer me to what I ask you. So he says that, you could create huge chaos in nature, that destruction itself gets tired of itself, that destruction, cause so much of destruction, and he's personifying destruction, that even destruction gets sick and tired of itself, right? So you could do to that extent. That is the ultimate extent to which you could do. But you could do all that. But my point is that you need to answer what I ask you. So the first which says speak. They are not shocked by that because they are also used to this kind of violent behavior. So Macbeth is desperate for information. That's what it shows. What does it show? It shows his desperation for the answers, because he knows the witches will be able kind of the disaster. He's willing to risk the complete destruction of nature and the universe around him, but he wants his answers. So it shows that he is, the second point, that at this point in time, he's thinking only about himself. He's being extremely selfish and self-centered, and he's also shows his ruthless nature. Okay, his ruthlessness is also coming across in this particular passage. So if you get, you may not get obviously the word meanings in that sense, but you need to understand that to be able to explain what does it indicate about Macbeth's personality. That's what this play is all about. The play is about Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and you need to be able to correlate to the different things that they do or say at different times of the play. So it also indicates, this particular passage also indicates his dependence on the witches. So these 4 points are important aspects of his personality that come through in that particular passage. Germans, the word that has been used is to refer to the seeds or the beginning of things. So Macbeth is saying that he does not care if the foundation of life, the Germans of life itself, is upset or thrown into a side, into some kind of chaos. So the first which says speak, then the second which says ask, demand means ask, we will answer. First which says say if thou is, rather hear it from our mouths or from our masters. So would you want to hear it from us, or would you want to hear for the first time that there is a power above them and giving Macbeth the choice to choose between the witches or their masters. So but now he comes to know that there is someone who is a higher power than the witches. So Macbeth says, call them, let me see them. So Macbeth is obviously curious. So he says, call your master, I would like to see them. The first witch says, pour in Sau's blood that hath eaten her 9 farrow. So the first witch says that pour in the blood of a female pig. Sau is a female pig which has eaten her 9 offsprings. 9 offsprings, that is 9 children of the pig has been eaten by the female pig. Okay, farrow means a litter of piglets. Okay, the young ones of a pig. So the litter of a piglets is referred to as farrow. And it says, the first bit says, grease that is sweaten from the murderer's gibbet throw into the flame, and take the body fat. Grease means body fat. Body fat from the corpse, from the dead body of a murderer, from the dead body of a murderer who is hanging on the gallows, who has been hung on the gallows. So take the body fat from the murderer, from the dead body of the murderer, and throw it into the flame. So again, a very violent kind of imagery. All of them says, come high or low, thyself and office deftly show. Show yourself and what you do. Now, these are all these what they are referring to are extremely grotesque. Please use this kind of words, grotesque and very repulsive kind of imagery because they symbolize unnatural acts. And this kind of foreshadows the kind of violence that Macbeth himself will unleash on the world around him, especially on the family of Macduff, Macduff's family. So the reference to the murderer adds a layer of violence. It's not, it's not like Shakespeare has just generally written murderer. It's to kind of, prepare the audience and the reader for the violence, for the kind of violence that is likely to follow. There is a very creepy and a very disturbing atmosphere, the kind of words that the witches use. And in the larger context of the play, please note this down. In the larger context of the play, Macbeth is the murderer who has disrupted the natural order. So the kind of punishment that they are talking about, remove the body fat from the dead body of the murderer who has been hung. So this is some kind of some kind of an indication about what may possibly happen to Macbeth himself. The kind of treatment that will be meted out to him, because Macbeth is a murderer who has disrupted the natural order, very much like the female pig which eats her own piglets. Okay, so that's again something which is disturbing the natural order, because that's not something which naturally a mother is expected to do. Macbeth is also doing something which a king is not supposed to or not expected to do. I hope you are able to make the connection between Macbeth and the animal imagery which has been used, right? A lot of you keep on asking, dalo, jaldi dalo, ASAP and all that. My point is very simple. Whatever I do, I need to do it to the best possible quality. For me, quality is important. It may take 2 more days, that's fine with me. But for me, the quality is important. So मैं जल्दबाजी में मैं काम नहीं करता हूँ. Everything I take time to think about it, research, prepare, and only then record. So don't keep pushing me. Don't give me fundas like कि कल हमारा final exams है. Don't बेवकूफ नहीं हूँ मैं यहाँ पे. So don't do those kind of things. Thunder, first apparition and an armed head. Look, so the first apparition, that is some kind of an image, ghostly kind of an image, appears in the form of a head which is wearing a helmet. Armed head means it is wearing some kind of a headgear. Macbeth, tell me, thou unknown power. Tell me what you unknown power. The first which says, he knows your thought. He knows what you want to know. Okay, here is speech, but say thou not. But you do not speak anything. Just hear what he has to say. Listen to him. Do not speak anything. The first apparition, the image of the ghost, Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth. Beware of Macduff. Beware the Thane of Fife. Dismiss me. Enough. So he says, you need to be careful of Macduff, who is the Thane of Fife, and release me, let me go. Enough. And it descends. Macbeth says, whatever thou art, for thy good caution, thanks, thou hast harped my fear all right, but one word more. So Macbeth says, whatever you are, thank you for your caution, for, for alerting me, okay, for giving me this kind of message. And you have expressed exactly what I feared. Your harped on means you have expressed exactly what I was fearing. But one more word, first which says he will not be commanded. You cannot ask him questions like that. Here is another more potent than the first. So here is another apparition coming, which is more strong than the first one. So thunder happens, the second apparition comes, and this time it is in the form of a bloody child. Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth. Macbeth says, had I 3 years, I would hear thee. That I would hear, if I had 3 years, I would hear with all my 3 years. Second apparition says, be bloody, bold and resolute, laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. This is extremely significant. Please make a note of this. The second apparition says, be bloody, means be violent. Okay, so it's expecting Macbeth to be violent. It's expecting him to be bold, and resolute means determined. Okay, laugh to scorn, mock the power, the strength of other men, that you can mock, make fun of the strength of other men, because there is no one who has been born of a woman can harm you. That is, you will never be harmed by any man who has been born of a woman. This is an extremely significant prophecy that is being made to Macbeth, that you're so powerful, and that gives you the liberty to be bloody, to be violent, to be bold, and to be extremely determined. And you can even mock the strength of other men, because there is no man who has been born of a woman who will ever have the power, the strength, the courage, and the ability to harm Macbeth. And this is an extremely significant, which kind of rules him out, Kaun hoga jo who will not be born of a woman. Of course, there is a catch which will come later in Act 5. Oof. Then live Macduff, what need I fear of thee? And that immediately puts Macbeth at ease. And he says, then Macduff, you can live, because where is the need for me to be scared of you, fear of thee? But yet I will make assurance double sure. But yet I will double check and make an agreement with fate. Take a bond of fate. Means I will still make it doubly sure, and I will make an agreement with fate. With destiny, I will make an agreement. You shall not live, Macduff. Ki tumko to marna padega, you will not live, that I may tell pale-hearted fear it lies and sleep in spite of thunder. By killing you, because by getting rid of you, by killing you, I will be able to defeat my own fear. I may tell pale-hearted fear it lies and sleep in spite of thunder. So you will be killed. That is, Macduff will be killed by Macbeth, so that I will be able to defeat my own fear and sleep soundly and easily. In spite of thunder, kuch bhi ho jaye, I will be able to sleep. So for the sake of sleep, and this once again brings back the imagery, the theme of sleep, which I spoke about even in Act 2, that, the fact that Macbeth is not going to be able to sleep now because he killed King Duncan while he was asleep, which is the ultimate crime, when he was not in a position to defend himself. The security guards were also asleep, and they were not in a position to defend their king, which they were supposed to. So Macbeth's, the casualty is that Macbeth is now unable to sleep. So now he wants to sleep. So he says, I will kill you so that I am able to sleep soundly. Oof. This kind of detailing takes a lot of effort. to prepare and to kind of break it down, to be able to relate it to the larger themes, so that there is no confusion. And by the time we come out with the test papers later in the year, you are well prepared to be able to answer these any questions. Thunder, third apparition. Most of the stuff will be there in the videos. A child crowned with a tree in his hand. So now comes the third imagery, which is that of a child wearing a crown and holding a tree in its hand. Again, a very unnatural kind of a sight. Macbeth says, what is this that rises like the issue of a king and wears upon his baby brow the round and top of sovereignty? So what is the spirit, Macbeth asks, that looks like the child of a king wearing a top? Crown, top means, this is reference to crown of sovereignty, means a royal crown on top of his baby brow, on top of his young head. Okay. Please listen, do not speak to it, is what the three witches tell him. The third apparition says, be lion mettled, proud, and take no care who shafts, who frets, or where conspirers are. So the child apparition says that be lion mettled means be brave, be courageous. Okay, कोई डरने की बात नहीं है. And you can be proud as a lion. You can be proud as a lion. And take no care. Do not worry about who is resentful towards you. You know, who shafts. You know, who is resentful towards you, or who hates you, or who is conspiring against you. Okay, so do not have to worry. Macbeth shall never be vanquished, shall never be defeated, shall never be killed until great Birnam wood to hide Dunsinane Hill. So he will never be defeated until such time when great Birnam wood, which is a forest, comes to fight you at this particular place, which is Dunsinane Hill. That until that happens, which is very strange. You know, how can a forest move? How can a forest move? So he's saying, the child is saying that unless and until the forest itself moves towards this place, Macbeth shall never be defeated. So that's, and so the second and third prophecy are extremely significant. No person born of a woman, and until the forest moves towards Dunsinane Hill, he will never be defeated. So shall come against him. So this line, which has been delivered by the third apparition, is a prophecy which offers a false sense of security to Macbeth, because Macbeth will never be vanquished seems like a positive statement for Macbeth, and it suggests that he is, what does it suggest? That he is invincible or immortal, that he can never be killed. So the condition that is attached makes the prophecy very unlikely. How can a forest move, right? The idea of a real forest uprooting itself and moving towards Dunsinane Hill and attacking the castle is a very unreal kind of a possibility, right? So that gives a false sense of security to Macbeth, because Dunsinane Hill is the location of Macbeth's castle. So Macbeth interprets the prophecy literally. Since trees cannot move on their own, he obviously thinks that he is absolutely safe. And this misinterpretation is what leads to his downfall in this particular play. Because later on, the approaching army of Macduff uses the branches from the Birnam wood to hide themselves, to camouflage it themselves, and it gives the impression as though the forest is moving. That's what happens. So the prophecy which has been made, you realize, is not telling him the entire truth. It lulls him into a sense of false security. Ki main to abhi invincible hoon. You know, without realizing that there could be a catch, and that could actually lead to his downfall and death. So this way the prophecy will be fulfilled is something which Macbeth, obviously anyone would never kind of imagine. So Macbeth's overconfidence in his own interpretation of the prophecy, it kind of contributes towards his tragic end. I hope this is clear. So Macbeth says that will never be. Ye to ho nahi sakta, right? So this will never happen. Who can impress the forest, bid the tree unfix his earthbound root? So he says, who can force the forest to make the trees pull the roots out of the ground, out of the earthbound root, right? You know, it is bound to the earth. How can anyone impress the forest to tell the tree to remove themselves from the roots? Sweet bodements, good. So he says that these are sweet prophecies. I really like these prophecies which have been made because they suggest that I am invincible, no one can defeat me. Rebellion's head rise never till the wood of Burnham's rise, and our high place Macbeth shall live the lease of nature, pay his breath to time and mortal custom. So he says that good, my murderers will never come to threaten me until the forest of Burnham gets up and moves, which will obviously never happen. And that means that I will be king till my entire life. That the lease of nature means till such time that I am supposed to live biologically, I will actually be alive, and I will die only of mortal custom, means natural death. I will die only a natural death. I will not be killed. But he says, yet my heart throbs to know one thing. I still want to know one thing. Tell me, if thou art can tell me so much, shall Banquo's issue ever reign in this kingdom? He's still curious about whether Banquo's children will be ruling this particular kingdom of Scotland. So if your dark powers can tell you so much, if thou art, he's referring to it as an art. Very interesting, right? So he's referring to it as an art, that if your dark powers can see so much, if your art can see so much, tell me whether Banquo's sons, whether they will ever rule in this kingdom. So all of them say, seek to know no more. Don't try to know anything more. Macbeth says, I will be satisfied, deny me this, and an eternal curse fall on you. Let me know why sings that cauldron, and what noise is this? So Macbeth gets angry that they are not revealing this particular aspect to him. So he says, I want full information, and if you deny me this, I shall be satisfied only if you give me this information. And if you refuse to tell me this, an eternal curse will fall on you. Okay, let me know, why is that cauldron sinking with all that, why is it going down, and what is that sound? There is a music which plays. So first which says, all of them say, show, show, show. Then all of them say, show his eyes and grieve his heart, come like shadows, so depart. So all of them say, okay, then let him see and let him grieve, let him feel sad, come like shadows and depart in the same way. So a show of 8 kings come, and the last of them has a glass in his hands, and that is the ghost of Banquo. Okay, that is the ghost of Banquo which is following. Macbeth says, thou art too like the spirit of Banquo. Now once again he sees something which is like the spirit of Banquo. You look too much like the ghost of Banquo. He says, go down, down. Thy crown does sear mine eyeballs. The crown that I am seeing, your golden hair looks like a crown, and that resembles the hair on the first king. The third king looks like the second one. So he's kind of, seeing these images which are very close to each other, but the last one looks like Banquo. Okay. So he's telling to each one of the other king's imageries that he's seeing. So he says, and then he speaks to the third one is like the second one. And then now he's speaking to the witches, and he calls them filthy hags. So this is a key phrase which you can use for the witches whenever there is a question of between Macbeth and the witches. He says, filthy hags, why do you show me this? Why did you show me this? A fourth king, my eyes are popping out, start eyes, my eyes are popping out of their sockets. Will this line stretch out of the crack of doom? So he says, will this line of kings never end? Because it seems to be an endless line of kings. Another one, a seventh one, I will see no more. And yet the eighth appear, who bears a glass which shows me many more. He says the eighth one appears and is holding a mirror in which a glass in which I see many more kings. And some of those kings, okay, some I see that twofold balls and treble scepters carry, and some of those kings are carrying double balls, emblems, which is an emblem of sovereignty, of royalty. So they are carrying double balls and triple scepters, suggesting that they're kings of different kingdoms. Triple scepters means that they're kings of different kingdoms, and this is also a symbol of sovereignty, of royalty. And he says this is a horrible sight. Okay, now I see it is true. He says, now I see it is true, for the blood boltered Banquo spiles upon me, and points at them for his. So he says, now I see they are all descendants of Banco, because that's what he wanted to know, whether descendants of Banco, the issues of Banco, the children of Banco, will ever rule this kingdom. So the suggestion is that there will be a line of kings which will follow from Banco. So he says, now I see they are all descendants of Banco. Banco and his hair, blood bolted Banco, which means that, his hair, which is matted with blood, smiles at me and pointing to them as his, that they are all belonging to him. So that's what he says. And then all of them vanish. What is this so? So he says, what is this true? The first which says, yes, it is true. But why stands Macbeth thus amazedly? But why is it that Macbeth is so surprised? Okay, why is it that you are so amazed? He says, and the first which says, come sisters, cheer we up his spirits. Let us cheer him up with some spirits and show our talents to Macbeth and show the best of our delights, which is referring to their talents. I will charm the air to give a sound while you perform your antic round. So she says that I will charm the air to produce music while you perform your dance in a circle, so that this great king may kindly say our duties did his welcome pay. So that this great king, that is Macbeth, will kindly say that our ceremonies repaid his friendly welcome. It's almost like, there is a touch of sarcasm out here. Earlier they referred to him as a wicked person. So they now say that, that whatever friendly welcome he gave, that we have been able to repay that with whatever prophecies and whatever song and dance we have been able to perform before Macbeth. They create the music and the witches dance, and then they vanish with Hecate. Macbeth says, where are they? Gone. Let this pernicious hour stand accursed in the calendar. Come in without there. So Macbeth says, where are they? Gone. Let this pernicious means evil. Let this evil time be marked as a cursed time in the calendar. Because while he's happy with the fact that he looks to be invincible, that no one can kill him, he's troubled by the fact that the next line of kings are all going to be Banco's line of children and the next line in descendants. So he says, let this particular hour be marked as a cursed hour, something which is very evil in the calendar. And then he says to someone off stage that come in. At that stage, Lennox enters. What is your grace's will? That what is, your grace, your highness, your royalty, what do you command? Macbeth says, did you see the weird sisters? And it shows that Macbeth is feeling very cautious. He doesn't want anyone else to know that he came here and met the witches. So, and he's very suspicious. Lennox says, no, my lord. Came they not by you? Did they not pass by you when they were exiting? Lennox says, no, indeed, my lord. Macbeth says, the air, infected be the air whereon they ride, and damned all those that trust them. I did hear the galloping of horse. Who was it came by? So Macbeth says that the air they ride is infected, and damned are those who trust them, which is very weird because he's the one who was trusting them so far, right? So there is a touch of irony out here. So he says, I heard the galloping of horses. Who was it that came that way? So it's very weird that he says, damned all those who trust him. So he's cursing himself because he was the one who was trusting them, which is why he came to meet them again this time. So he says that those who trust their prophecies be cursed, indirectly cursing himself, and he wants to know the identity of someone who came on horseback. So Lennox says, 2 or 3 men, my lord, that bring you word that Macduff has escaped to England. Fled to England? Yes, my good lord. Macbeth says, time thou anticipatest my dread exploit. So Macbeth says that, and he's telling this to himself, the time you are anticipating means you are forestalling my dread exploits, means my terrifying plans. That, I have some very terrifying plans for Macduff, and time you are kind of creating blockage for that. You're trying to stop that. The flighty purpose never is overtook until the deed go with it. That unless a person acts on a plan immediately, he will never be able to accomplish it. So the purpose is never accomplished, the deed, unless you take some action immediately. From this moment, the first The very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand. Interesting and important line. He says, from this moment, I will act as soon as I take a decision. The firstlings of my hand is the action. Firstlings of my heart is the decision that he has taken. So this is the action. This is the decision that he will take. So he says, I will act as soon as I make a decision. And even now, to crown my thoughts with acts, be it thought and done. So he says that I will begin right now to follow my thoughts immediately with action. The castle of Macbeth, I will surprise, seize upon 5, give to the edge of the sword, his wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in this line. He says that I will launch a surprise attack. The castle of Macbeth, I will surprise at 5, and I will seize the town of 5, that I will control. I will take over the town, the fiefdom of 5. I will kill his wife, his children, and anyone else who is unfortunate to stand in line of his inheritance, of his inheritance. Anyone who can come in line, who can become the next Thane of 5, I will kill each one of them. No more boasting like a fool. I will not boast anymore like a fool. This deed I will do before this purpose end. That I will do this deed before my sense of purpose becomes dull, before I lose interest, because he has just now said, whatever I decide, I will act on it immediately. So he wants to start with attacking Macduff's family. So no more spooky, but no more sights, no more spooky visitors, spooky visions, referring to all the apparitions that he has seen. And then he says, where are those messengers? Come bring me where they are. Come take me to them. He means the messengers who have brought the news of Macduff's escape to England. So with that, this very long and very important scene, which kind of conveys the relationship between Macbeth and the 3 witches, and the effect of the supernatural on Macbeth's life and Macbeth's future planning. All that is conveyed in this particular scene. I hope it is pretty clear to you, the way I've explained to you each and every line, and I hope you will be able to do justice to it. This is the particular kind of scene where you could get both the reasoning questions. There could be some interesting MCQs also, I would assume. Also some interesting 5 marks or 10 marks questions about the relationship. So whenever you're talking about the relationship between Macbeth and the witches, this is the scene which is going to be extremely critical. Okay, tata, bye bye. Now I will see you in Act 4, Scene